All right, we are recording. we are live. Okay.
Action.
Yeah, that's right, action. I need one of those little movie things, don't I? Okay. So, somebody read me the first part of the directions there on page 42. Willow has volunteered.
Expository writing is used to explain, inform, or give information. It is important for the author to use words that clearly show the reader what he or she is talking about.
Very good. All right, so this week you start writing. So we've been learning all these punctuation rules and all these capitalization rules. So I'm expecting you to demonstrate those in your writing. And so we're going to learn about what expository writing is. So we're going to watch this video and then we're going to talk about the assignment, and then we're going to learn a little bit about commas, okay? So here we go. Hopefully it's
Expository writing is writing that seeks to explain, illuminate, or expose, which is where the word expository comes from. This type of writing can include essays, newspaper and magazine articles, instruction manuals, textbooks, encyclopedia articles, and other forms of writing, so long as they seek to explain. Expository writing differs from other forms of writing, such as fiction and poetry. In fact, this lesson itself is an example of expository writing. The expository essay is a tool that is often used in the academic world. If you've attended school, it's highly likely you've written one. Most expository essays have an introductory paragraph in which a thesis or objective is stated, several main body paragraphs that prove or explain what is in the introduction, and a concluding paragraph in which everything is summed up. When writing an expository essay, it's important to write with the assumption that your audience has little to no background knowledge about the main topic. Your duty as the writer is to provide the reader with as much information as you can. The reader should feel as if he or she has learned something after reading your essay. There are different types of expository writing that are used for different purposes. Let's take a look at some examples. First, a description essay can be used when the writer wants to describe the characteristics or features of a person, place, thing, process, event, etc. Descriptive essays, more than other types of expository writing, seek to stimulate the reader's senses. For example, if you wanted to describe what chocolate chip cookies are like, you might write, "Chocolate chip cookies are one of the most popular desserts in the world. They can either be crispy or soft and have a sweet smell to them reminiscent of a bakery. They taste rich and melt in your mouth. When they bake, they wrinkle up in the oven, and the combination of the nooks and crannies in the dough with the mouth-watering chocolate chips on top make them hard to resist." These several sentences have aptly described chocolate chip cookies using sight, smell, taste, and touch. You could also describe a process, such as running a marathon, in which you told the reader about how much you sweated, how you lost your breath going up hills, how you couldn't see 3 feet in front of you because of the fog, etc. Next, process writing is often used in instruction manuals and other technical writing pieces. A process essay should be well structured so that someone reading it can follow sequential directions. An example of such a piece of writing would be practically any instruction manual you might happen to have, from how to operate your toaster oven to how to change a tire on a bicycle. Software manuals are full of this type of writing. Many examples of process writing have step-by-step instructions, such as Step 1, put collar on dog. Step 2, attach leash to collar. Step 3, open door and step outside with dog. Now let's take a look at comparison essays, which show how two or more things are similar or different. For example, an article about football positions might say, "Wide receivers and tight ends are almost the same thing on the football field. They are both positions on offense that are designed to score points." What makes these positions different, however, is the formation in which they line up on the football field. In addition to formation differences, the tight end is used more for blocking than a wide receiver. Next, a cause and effect essay will recount an event or events and explain why one or more things occurred. For example, Johnny was rated highly by college scouts in the nation and had a good chance of getting into several top schools. He was averaging almost 200 yards rushing in high school football games. Johnny was nervous that another athlete would begin to catch up to him in stats, so he decided to take sports-enhancing drugs. Unfortunately for Johnny, he was eventually drug tested. This led to him not only being kicked off the football team, but to being denied several scholarships from Ivy League universities. He eventually ended up taking night courses at a community college while working full-time at a car wash. It took him 4 years to finish his associate's degree. This paragraph explains nicely the cause and effect pattern of how Johnny's life went downhill. Finally, a problem-solution essay states a problem and then proposes one or more solutions. Newspaper editorials are good examples of problem-solution writing. For example, our public schools waste over 70% of the paper, plastic, and glass that they use. There are ways we can get teachers and students to reduce the waste. One solution would be to put a recycling bin in each classroom. This would at least begin to make people more aware of the problem. Another idea would be to have a contest to see which classroom can produce the most recycling or the least amount of trash. The winner could be treated to a pizza party. Expository writing is writing that seeks to explain, illuminate, or expose, which is where the word expository comes from. This type of writing is different from creative writing. Expository essays are used throughout academia, but this type of writing is also used in magazines, newspapers, technical writing, and other areas. 5 of the most common types of expository writing are descriptive essays, process essays, comparison essays, cause and effect essays, and problem-solution essays.
Oh. What was Donnie doing? He was averaging 200 rushing yards a game. To the doctor really fast.
So how many of you, tonight, I'm thinking, I might have to bake chocolate chip cookies after watching that video. Oh my goodness. Let me borrow your book, Wiley, for a second. So I want to make sure you understand the assignment. So you're going to read the expository paragraph below. The details are in italics and bold. Examples of each detail follow more details. And then you're going to choose one of the prompts from the list below. And feel free to use the organizer. This will help you write your paragraph. And you're going to write a paragraph explaining this responsibility. Use details and examples in your paragraph. So you're going to write this on a separate sheet of paper. If you want to type it, you can type it. Just make sure your name's on it and which assignment this is, which page number, okay? So everybody's excited about writing, right? Let's talk about this kind of writing. So what did you learn from the video? What did you learn about expository writing? What does it do?
It can be expressed in many different forms.
Expressed in many different forms. That's right. That's right. So name one of those forms.
Problem solution.
A problem solution. Yes. What else?
Comparison.
Comparison. Yes. What?
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. Kinsey, you got another one?
That's an
He took yours. Okay. Emma?
Descriptive.
Descriptive. That's right. That's right. Very good. Those are all good examples. So it's going to explain something. So are you going to write me a creative paragraph? No. You're going to write me a paragraph that either explains something, describes something, has a cause and effect, a problem, a solution, or a process. We're going to be talking about lots of different types of writing, but this particular one is the expository. Yes?
Do we have to write specifically on this?
You have to use the topics listed there, yes. So sometimes I will post a list of topics for you to choose from on the teacher page, but not this first time out. We're going to follow those this first time out. And what you're going to do is we're going to build throughout the year. We're going to learn how to write paragraphs of the different types of writing, and then you're going to start writing papers of the different types of writing. So it'll get very exciting. So you'll become great writers by the end of the year. Questions about expository writing? Questions? No? Okay, so everybody's ready to become excellent expository writers. All right. How was the capitalization test? Was it hard? Easy?
Easy.
Easy? Okay. I figured it would be. Y'all are a bright group. Okay. So, no questions about the assignment required this week. Just look it over, be sure, because I'm expecting excellent paragraphs. All right, so let's learn about commas today. Okay, so like we had capitalization rules, we have comma rules. And I was teaching these to a tutoring student the other day, and he was like, oh, I never knew that. And so maybe there'll be one of these rules today that you'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. So let's start with rule 1. This one's fairly easy. You use a comma to set off a noun of direct address. So if there's a person that you're speaking to, so if I say, have you gone, Sam? I'm going to set it off with a comma, okay? Also, if I have it in the beginning of the group, if I have Sam, come here, whoops, that's a C, come here, please, then I'm going to set Sam off. So if you've got the name of a person, and you're probably thinking, well, what if the name's in the middle? Same rule applies. You're going to set it off with a comma. I want to go, Sam, with your group. So anytime there's a name like that, you're going to set it off if you're addressing the person. Now, if I have Sam and I went to the store, am I going to have a comma with Sam? No, I'm not, because I'm not addressing Sam. To address somebody means to speak to them. So I'm not speaking to him, I'm stating a fact, okay? Right? All right, so have you gone, Sam? Sam, come here, please. I want to go, Sam, with your group. Think of commas as a chance to take a breath. So if you're speaking and it's a natural place where you would take a breath, a comma is usually used where you take a breath. Okay, so rule 1. Anybody have any questions about rule 1? No? Okay. I'll leave that up just a minute so you have a chance to copy it. Okay, rule 2. Rule 2, we use a comma to set off introductory words. So if I say, no, I haven't, whoop, I'm losing my pen here. Let me borrow one of Mr. Rogers. I'm glad that we have the extra fun. Okay. No, I haven't seen it. Okay? So anytime it's an introductory word, so you're going to use the comma to set off introductory words. Well, I changed my mind. Yes, I want to go. So anytime you have like an introductory word. Now, does it feel like you naturally pause after that? Yes, I want to go. So you feel that pause, it's comma, okay? Rule 3. Let's talk about rule 3. You use a comma to set off interrupters in a sentence. Have you ever been talking and you're like, the answer, I think that I think is an interrupter. So you're going to have to use a comma. The answer, I think, is 54. Okay? Or if you say like, however, not all is lost. So there are those words that tend to interrupt the train of thought. Have you ever said like, this calendar is in fact an old one? So you'd have a comma on each side of your little interrupter. If your interrupter is in the beginning, then you're going to have the comma after that. Okay? Have you ever said, by the way? I know we text that a lot, don't we? But if you're using it in your writing, by the way, comma, or if you're like, the swings, by the way, need to be repaired. You're going to use commas in them. Yes, ma'am?
So if you're saying by the way, would you put a comma before and after or just after?
You put a comma on each side of it if it's in the middle of the sentence. So you're going to say like, these swings, well, I'll say these wings, by the way, are hot. So notice there's a comma on each side, by the way. If you do it in the beginning, I'm going to abbreviate here. You do by the way. Don't use your text abbreviations so when you're writing your paragraphs. Okay? All right. So rule 4, as we're moving on through the list, rule 4, we're going to use the comma after a greeting of a letter. So if I say, Dear Susan, I'm going to put my comma after Susan. If I say, my dear friend, I'm going to put a comma after friend. Okay? So whatever the greeting is of your letter, you're going to have the comma after. When was the last time y'all wrote a letter? Do you ever write letters? You do? I bet I'll tell you, your grandparents probably love to get letters. So always write thank you notes to your grandparents. So.
Why not just tell them in person?
Hmm?
Why not just tell them in person?
You can tell them in person, but a thank you note to a grandparent goes a long way. I know my parents are far more generous to my children every time they get thank you notes. So rule 5. Okay, use a comma after the closing of a letter. So if you're going to say love, or with love, or sincerely, or if you're going to say sincerely yours, or you've probably seen the one best wishes, or best regards. You're going to have a comma after those. We had just learned about capitalizing them, but you're going to have a comma after them. Okay, that's rule 5. Rule 6. This is the one that tends to trip people up. So rule 6 is you're going to have a comma to set off words or phrases in a series. So if I say blue, red, and green hats are on display. Notice, you have a comma after the first one, comma after the second one. You don't have a comma after the and. So we don't do commas after conjunctions. Kind of have that in your mind. No comma after a conjunction. Commas after a list of items. Now, a long, long time ago, back when I was in elementary school, we didn't put this comma. So your parents may have been raised not to put a comma before the and. But I want you to tell them, Mom, Dad, they've changed the grammar rules, they've changed the grammar book. Show them in your book, because it should be in your daily grammar book. It'll be in your grammar books that there is a comma before the and now, okay? So don't leave that off. So it also works if it's a phrase. Like if I say, we ran a mile, swam a mile, and biked a mile. Okay? So it can also work with a list of items, okay? A list of things, not just a list of individual items. How many of you already knew that rule? Good. But be respectful if you have to correct your mom or dad about that rule. All right. Rule 7. Okay. Rule 7. Rule 7 is use a comma to clarify a sentence. Now, if I say, in the night, time was extremely important. Now this sentence can have two different meanings, can it? In the nighttime was extremely important. If I put a comma here, it changes the sentence a little bit, doesn't it? In the night, time was extremely important. Okay, so sometimes you have to use a comma to clarify or make clear your sentence. And then rule 8. Use a comma between two descriptive adjectives. So if I say bright, sparkling, stars twinkled in the night. All right, there are two descriptive adjectives here, and I'm going to put a comma between them. Don't put a comma between your adjective and your noun. Don't put one there, but put one between the two adjectives. Okay, now I get to tell you the exception to this rule, for Rule 8. So, if the two adjectives, if one of them is a color or a limiting adjective, then you don't place the comma there.
What's a limiting adjective?
That's a good question. Hold on. So if I say a white, fluffy puppy ran by, I don't put a comma between white and fluffy. Okay? Questions? Limiting would be like a number. Like if you had one white fluffy puppy ran by, you wouldn't put numbers. So you do put commas between the two adjectives though, unless it's a number or a color. Okay?